Hello everyone, I'm Noah Dab and I'm going to be giving you a basic overview on how to use FinalSite. We're going to cover how to use the composer, how to create and use modules, how to create and use constituents, groups, and how to access resources. Let's go ahead and get started. So when you head into the composer, you'll be able to view your pages, banners, elements, themes, pop-ups, and a bunch of other stuff. Basically, when you go into pages, you'll be able to see your main site, and the one thing you have to keep in mind is in order to edit, you go into compose mode at the bottom. We'll touch on that in a second. But to go around your site, you can either use this left bar which shows you all the different pages and like what sub pages are under them, or you can actually click on it from your main website. Depending on the status of your site's like assembly, yours might not look like this, but this is what ours looks like. So let's just say I'm on my home right now and I want to edit something. I can go into the compose button and then I can change things. Or if I want to make a new page, I can click these three dots and then create new page. Let's just call this one test page. Once you've created a new page, it'll automatically import all this other stuff due to it being attached to your theme, which is a whole other topic we can get into at another time. Let's go ahead and start by going over elements. So let's go ahead and turn our compose on to start compose editing on, and we're going to start adding content. So once you click on this, this is an element, and here you can add content like text-based stuff. So we can just say this is a normal element. And we can have text, we can also have pictures, videos, lists, a whole bunch of stuff, even links. Let's go ahead and just add a picture in as an example. So like I mentioned earlier, this is the resource tab. This is where all files on your website are stored. And here you can access them and put them in different spots around your site. So let's just take this logo and drop this in here. And there we go, we have a nice little text and a logo. That looks really good. Now let's go ahead and add in an element for a module. So we want to use a module. The way I think of modules are like advanced elements, which like they do a lot more than just be a picture or be a text or be a list or a link. These are advanced thingies, and they have their own managers for setting them up. So for example, if I want to make a calendar, I have to go into the calendar manager and create one. So let's go in here and create a calendar. For the purpose of this, I already have a calendar made. It's called Test Calendar, and I'll show you how to access that right now. So normally there would be events in this that you would set up. I don't have any in mind, but I'm just doing this for demonstration purposes. So I have my calendar set up. I'm going to go add elements. You can either do this from here or you can do it from this bar right here when you go into elements. And you're going to want to scroll down to where it says module. As you can see on the standard, it has images, resources, videos, navigation, which is like going from different parts of the site, layout, where you can change the layout of this. If I want it to be divided by 2, I can do that here. You can have socials, or you can have shared stuff like navigation. Anyways, these are modules. So these are the different things that you have to set up individually and then add to this. So it's like you could have rosters, teams. We'll talk about constituents and groups in a minute here. And this is where you can create lists of like the people in those groups or the constituents. But anyways, let's go ahead and add a calendar. Once you add a calendar, you're going to have to select what calendar you want to use. Do not think that this is the like selecting thing, because it's not. This is actually this text right here. So like I could change this to say this is my calendar, and then I'll reflect that once I save it. But let's go ahead and add our calendar. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to go down to general settings and then select your calendar. So now I have my calendar selected. If there's specific stuff you want to like set about it, you can do that all here. Let's go ahead and save that. And as you can see, normally it would display the calendar stuff, but I don't have any events in it, so it's not going to. But normally it will. Let's go over the second thing. We talked on modules and we talked about composers. So let's go ahead and talk about constituents and groups. So a constituent, the way I think of it, is anybody that uses your site, and you can have different roles attached to different constituents. So for example, these are our current lists. Let's say we have somebody we want to add to our site. We want to give them faculty and staff role because they recently were employed with us. So we can go add new constituent, and then we can set their name up. We'll just call it William Butcher. And now that we have their name set up, we are pretty much good to go. But if you wanted to add in other stuff like their title, their contact information, their education, even a biography, or my personal favorite, photos, you can do that all here. You can also set what groups they are in, which we'll touch on groups in a second, and what roles they have. Let me go ahead and create this just to show you that. So now he's created. Butcher's in our he's in our constituents. So you can assign him a role, which roles, you can't create roles like you can groups. Roles are something that are created with your site's creation. So if you need a specific role to be created, talk to your the person who created the site. Then they should be able to get that set up for you. Then over here is your account settings. So for the purposes of this video, I'm not going to go too over accounts and what the portal is, but essentially if you have like a parent portal or something like that, this is where you could figure all that login information and that sort of stuff and connect it to like a Infinite Campus, let's say. You could do that here. These are your subscriptions, where you can see what like subscriptions on your website, whether it's like athletic stuff or calendars that people have subscribed to or that person has subscribed to. And then like I said, we'll touch on groups in a minute here. So now we have him created, which is good. So let's go ahead and go over the settings part of this. So these are your constituent roles. You can view those here. You can export it into a spreadsheet if you wanted to. I personally don't use this, but if you wanted to, it's there. And another thing we're going to go over real quick before we touch on groups is if you need to remove somebody. So if you wanted to remove, let's say Butcher was suddenly fired for, I don't know, disorderly conduct, you could click this right here and it will completely remove him from the system. It will remove him from all his groups, and his entire profile will be deleted off of this. Alright, let's go over groups. So in order to create a group, you're going to want to head into the group manager and you want to go add group. Let's call this group the boys. And then in our group, we can just set all these settings if you need to. I'm not going to set them for the purpose of this video, and just create group. Then in the group space, you can kind of edit the features of it, like commenting, posts, themes, that sort of thing. Then here's the main part where you manage the members. So let's say we want to add William to that group. So we're going to select what his role is. So he's faculty and staff, which will pop up here. And then you can see all our faculty and staff, and you're going to select Butcher William. Then it's going to add him in, and it selects his group role, and there you go. So what exactly does putting people in groups do? Well, roles give people certain permissions, but groups is where the main permissions happen, I guess. Let me show you. This is the rights tab. So anybody in this group is able to do these things. For example, if you wouldn't want to put a student in the administrator group, or you wouldn't want to keep an administrator stuck in the student group. You want to have them separate and have separate permissions. So this is what the rights tab allows you to do, is configure that sort of thing. Then you can also add pictures for the groups, icons. I don't know, this could be a fun thing to use. Maybe you have a design competition for that group. I don't know. Just a little fun feature that they added in that I noticed. I really like that. But yeah, that's how you configure a group. So now that we've got our group configured, let's go ahead and update the settings for that group. So now the boys is created. And if we go back to the constituent manager, we can just kind of see under William. We go to William, we can go to his groups, and then it says he's in the boys and he's a member. And now his stuff is configured. He has faculty settings. So that's kind of how you do constituent management and user management, or the constituent management and group management. My bad, I misspoke. And yeah, there's a couple more things we could talk about. So if you go here, this is your dashboard. Under the dashboard, sorry, it takes a minute to load it. It's finicky sometimes. I don't know. Final Slide is great, but I've had some issues loading. This is your main area, which you'll see when you load in. It's just kind of a corporate looking everything. You can see how many pages are on your site, set up messaging, how many posts have been made, and how many resources there are in your resources folder. But if you want to learn something specific, like hyper specific on how to do something, I highly recommend checking out this tab, the training tab. When you go into Final Site Training, you can find all of these. I learned most of this stuff just from taking these three: the Composer course, the Constituents course, and the Groups course. These can be knocked out in I did all three of these in an hour. These are very easy to do, and it'll teach you everything you need to know. And if you ever need to know something, you can come right back to these and find it. That's just a great resource to have if you're trying to do something very specific. But for most general purposes, the things I just mentioned are like really straightforward and really easy to understand. Like for example, let's say we want to link to my personal website on the page I made. So we're gonna go back in here. We're gonna go into our test page. Come on. Thanks being funny. Okay, so we're on our test page now. So let's say I want to link to my website. So let's go ahead and add a new element. We can, hold on one second. Let me find this. Redirects. Oh, hang on. I'm looking at the wrong thing. I'm sorry. So we're going to go into our test page. And we're going to go add element. And let's just, actually, no. Let's type it. Let's type it. That'll make it, that's more interesting, right? I'm going to show you how to type a link into this thing. Hold on, this thing's being funny. Shaking the mouse like it's Windows 98. Okay. So we can go in here, and we can go ahead and create some text. So let's just say this is Noah's website, and then we want to go there. So this is the place where we want to go. So then we can highlight it, and we can sorry, we can highlight it, and then we can go up to this link right here where we can hit links, and we can go add link. Then once you click add link, you can type the URL. So we're just going to say noahdaub.com. Okay. And now it should redirect me in there. So if we turn off compose mode, we can see what that redirects like. So now you can see it takes me straight to my website. But let's say we don't like how this looks. We don't want it to just be a generic text. We want to have like a button that takes you places. And that's completely doable too. All you're going to want to do is highlight this, click this, and then go to add link again. But this time you're going to want to change the class to a button. So we can select like button 1, for example, hit OK, and then as you can see it creates a button. And there are lots of styles that you can use. There's the one I prefer, which is button 4. Let me pull that up real quick. Make sure to only select one. It can cause some formatting issues if you don't. And as you can see, it creates a button, and if I turn off compose mode, which is kind of like edit mode, this button will take me to my website. So that's kind of how you do that. You can add text, you can add images, redirects, buttons, links, and you can also add modules. So I'm not going to go too into the modules because it's really depending on what you need to do and your specific purposes, and they're pretty straightforward to figure out once you try to use them. But that's just kind of your generic overview. Let's see, what else can I show? This is the resource tab, so you can just kind of view all your stuff in here. I think that might be it. There's the banners, which are like these things up at the top. Like we can view those here. Like you can see the all this information that's displayed on the normal page. Essentially, your banners are like your main, I don't know, it's weird. It's like, it's the thing that puts your site together, kind of, from what I've noticed. I don't know, I could be wrong about that. Like I said, if you would like to learn something really specific, I highly recommend checking out those training videos. They kind of are really specific, and they tell you everything you need to know. But this is just a general overview to kind of show you how to operate this thing. Because, to be honest, when you open this up, it looks very, like, complicated, but once you actually start using it, it's really, really simple to understand. So, let's say we don't want this page anymore, because, obviously, if you're not using something for a specific purpose in your website, you're going to want to remove it. What you can do is you can go to 3 little dots, like we did up here, to create the page, and just delete it. So, we're going to get rid of this page. Oh, another thing I forgot to mention, you can use modules, or I think I did mention it, you can use modules to create lists of user groups and stuff like that. You can, all of this stuff ties into each other. But let's go delete our users. So let's say Mr. Butcher got fired. He doesn't work here anymore. We can go in here, and to make sure that he doesn't have access to our systems anymore, we can go to expand view. This will give us a more comprehensive list with like created times their accounts were created, when their first logon was, that sort of thing. So let's go to Mr. Butcher. So we can go ahead and just delete him. And now William Butcher is no longer in our system. He does not exist. And what was the group that we created here? Oh yeah, the boys. We created that group that he was in. So if we want to get rid of that group, we can go to the group manager. We can go to our group, the boys, and then we can just hit delete right here and get rid of that group. And another thing, if you ever make any kind of mistake on this platform and you accidentally delete something that you weren't supposed to delete, this thing has a great feature that you can use where you can literally just go right down here and then go to restore this page to the published version, which I will do right now. And then it will restore this entire web page back to its original version. Anyways, this was just a brief overview of how to use Finalsite with the groups, users, how to use Composer, how to use modules, resources, and even a little touch on the dashboard. But if there's something like hyper specific, like you need to learn how to do messaging systems inside of your website and have email lists, I highly recommend checking out the training things. Or if you want to contact me, I can help you with that. But yeah, thank you all for watching this video, and I hope this was some sort of help. Thank you.